We're speaking with Eddie Hughes, the Labor MP for the seat of Giles. How are you, Eddie?
Very good. Yourself?
All right, thanks. I think the last time we caught you, you were out on site where some of the flooding had happened in your electorate. How are things going in terms of repairs and getting infrastructure back up for local communities?
Yeah, there's still some issues with the not the major roads, but with the minor outback roads. So there's still work to be done. One of the things I think does need to happen is a thorough review about how we look after our outback roads. See if the approach that we got in place is the best one. And I guess some of the other stuff we need to have if you like, a greater responsiveness when it comes to communities being isolated. That there should be emergency plans ready to go, so that communities like Unadata and are not for a little time they're left in the lurch with a degree of uncertainty, and then having to rely upon the Royal Flying Doctor Service and the people from the Pincare Roadhouse to address some of the issues. So there needs to be greater certainty around the planning for events like the heavy rains that we had.
Well, we had the RAAF got involved as well with airdrops. I guess that's the kind of circumstance you're referring to. It seemed to be a bit of a scramble at the time to work out how we can get supplies to people without roads or rail.
Yeah, it was certainly a scramble, and some of the comments coming from Adelaide, especially when Coober Pedy was reopened to the world, the assumption was, well, Unadata's fine because Coober Pedy is in a better position, and that wasn't the case. So I think there needs to be a far more comprehensive planning approach to what happens in outback communities and pastoral properties.
When it comes to water supply, the Council of Social Services recently gave a report card. They seem to think the Liberal Party's done a reasonable job compared to Labor's policy promises on water supply. What have we achieved in the last 4 years from the Liberal government regarding critical water supply and potable water in these outback communities?
Well, not much at all. There's promises, and whether those promises are actually going to fix the situation is another question. I guess my view, there should be a comprehensive approach to water supply issues in the outback. One of the big ones, and we do have potable water, but is in Coober Pedy. So there's a big issue still to be addressed in Coober Pedy when it comes to the management of water there, and I've been a consistent advocate for SA Water taking over water supply in Coober Pedy. It's to expect a council in a remote location that's had revolving door senior officers, that's got a low rate base, to do something that no other council in the state is expected to do in terms of water supply and treatments and distribution. Is just not acceptable, and it's not fair on the people of Coober Pedy, who pay 3 times more for their water than say we do here in Whyalla or Adelaide. So there's a raft of issues in Coober Pedy to be addressed, and there's still issues in those smaller remote communities when it comes to the availability of water and the quality of water.
Over this last 4 years where we haven't had a Labor state or federal government, what's your report card on how health services have been operated in the outback communities, the availability of emergency and just regular GP availability in the outback areas?
Yeah, certainly GP availability, which is predominantly a federal issue through Medicare. The federal government have dropped the ball. There's the shortages everywhere. It's not just in the smaller communities now. It's also in larger regional communities when it comes to waiting times for GPs, GP availability. So there's serious maldistribution when it comes to GP services. We've got over-concentration in parts of the metropolitan area and insufficient GPs in country areas. And there's ongoing issues with our public hospitals as well. And it's why Labor have said we're not going to waste nearly $700 million on a basketball stadium in the city. That will give us, that spending will give us a good head start when it comes to addressing health issues that we've got, and they should be treated as a priority, and especially in country areas. I know that in some of the larger communities, the waiting times for ambulances has not been acceptable, and that's why we are putting some serious funding into increasing ambulance officer and paramedic numbers in the Upper Spencer Gulf and elsewhere to address those very concerning waiting times. So in Weil there's going to be an extra 24/7 crew. There's going to be 2 transfer crews so that ambulances are not drawn out of the communities where they operate. So we need to do a fair bit in that area, and the money that we save on not building the basketball stadium will be going into those services in regional communities.
Well, with the mining industry, with its work health and safety requirements, those health services are an important part of the puzzle in communities like Roxby Downs and Coober Pedy, for instance. When it comes to the mining industry itself, are you confident in its future over the next term of government?
I'm very confident. Labor have always been very strong supporters of the mining industry. It was Labor that introduced the first PACE program, that the assistance when it came to exploration. It's many years ago when Frank Blevins was the minister, and we continued that approach when we were in government. So we will be there to support the mining industry, and in this region, it's incredibly important with Olympic Dam, Prominent Hill, Carrapateena, the Middleback ranges, and the potential for other major discoveries. So mining is a very promising part of our future in this region.
All right, Eddie, look, thank you very much for your time. All the best for the state election. Some people have voted already, but the big polling day, and I'm sure you've got a lot of ground to cover on Saturday.
Yes, a lot of ground to cover. Okay.
Thanks, Eddie. Okay, bye.
Yeah.